Hello and welcome to My Body, My Power podcast, where we shine our light, claim our worth, and empower the next generation. I'm your host, Kristen Rubis, a heart-led entrepreneur, mentor, and the creator behind the My Body, My Power movement. Here, we uncover authenticity, celebrate self-expression, and create a life and career that lights up the world. Welcome, Goddess. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the My Body, My Power podcast. I'm your host, Kristen. I'm deeply grateful to have an empowering conversation with Urmi. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the amazing work you're doing in the world.
Yes, my name is Urmi and I'm a corporate professional. However, as I like to say, I'm a woman who wears many hats. So outside of my 9 to 5, I do a lot of different things. I'm a self-published author, speaker, YouTuber, mentor, podcaster, and I'm the co-chair of the Women in Leadership organization for the Montreal chapter, which is an organization whose purpose is really to empower the women in our community to be the leaders they are meant to be. And when I'm not doing any of these things, I like to read books. I'm very much into thriller books, and I like to do boxing as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good mix.
Yes,
well, thank you. Tell me a pain or struggle that you've turned into a source of power or purpose.
I would say when I became vulnerable with my story of being a third culture kid, I used to see that as a weakness, especially because people would ask me things such as, "Oh, where are you from?" And I always struggled with coming up with that answer. So I am Italian by birth and Bengali by blood, and now I'm living in Canada. So when people see me, they do ask me where I'm from, and I struggle with in a lot of years, I did struggle a lot with answering that question because I did not have an answer. And little by little, I started to talk about this. I started to talk about how I always felt like I was in between, how I was in the middle, how I never felt like I fit in. And initially, I was never comfortable to talk about that. But when I first started to open up out there through different social media platforms, my blog and my book as well, I feel like I turned this weakness and me being vulnerable into my own strength and power. And now I say it with conviction who I am and what culture I represent.
Beautiful. Good for you. Sounds like an empowering experience and journey.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, what's the best piece of advice you have for stepping into greater self-worth and empowerment?
I would say it's a self-belief, having our own self-belief and believing in what we can do and what we can achieve and believing in our talent. I do think that every single person, women and men, have something to offer, but it's really up to us to cultivate that. And I feel like sometimes we don't take enough time to really understand ourselves, understand what we're capable of, understand what value we can bring to the world. But I do think that when we are able to find that, it's really about believing in ourselves that we can do anything that we want. So it's really just putting our minds to think that way. So it's really self-belief, I would say.
Beautiful. Thank you. I agree. How did you discover your unique gifts or message, and how are you using them to serve others today?
I discovered it through a book. It's called Ikigai. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept, which it's a Japanese concept, and it means the reason for being. So basically, the Ikigai, it's like the book illustrates how this concept is developed, and it's basically it's an intersection about different things, and when you aren't putting all those things together, you're able to find what you're meant to be doing in the world and who you're supposed to be serving, what your purpose is. And when I read that book, I did not realize it, but I was already applying a lot of the things that they were saying. And that's how I realized, what my power was, which was really to connect with other women and to share a little bit of my experience and knowledge about the things that I have experienced so that they can feel empowered. So me giving back through women in leadership work or women's empowerment work, it's something that I think makes me really fulfilled. And I very much enjoy doing that. So I think that was my self-discovery, which I really found out by reading books. And that book in particular was the one that really helped me the most. And it's a book that I recommend all the time to people. And I think finding your Ikigai really helps you to find your long-term sustainable happiness or peace that it will make you happier on the long run, basically.
Beautiful. Do you know the author of the book?
It's a very long name. There are 2 authors and they do have like a long name. So I do not know it by heart.
Well, maybe we'll put it in the show notes for this episode so folks have that resource.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, what does my body, my power mean to you?
It means many things. Because I think there are so many things that I think of when I think of my body, my power. And I am someone who loves to watch like a lot of documentaries, and I love to watch a lot of things that are in relation to how women's body are treated. And often we think that women's body is someone's property. And for someone who comes from a South Asian community, often this is what we're taught, that our body is supposed to be there to serve other people and it's the property of other people. But through time, I realized that it's not like that. You know, we can break those cultural barriers. So for me, when I think about my body, my power, I think that my body is my property and I do whatever I want with it. Whether I want to show like a piece of my skin, whether I want to dress a certain way, it's up to me to do whatever I want. And it's no one else's property but just mine, and I decide what I want to do.
Thank you. A woman to that. I agree with that too. Well, what does radical self-expression mean to you and how has it played a role in your journey?
So self-expression means different things, and I often associate it with authenticity. It's about showing yourself to the world for who you are without fitting a role or playing a role. And for me, it came in many different ways. I think I use different methods to express myself to the world. Whether it was through an action, whether it was by writing my book, by launching my podcast, by being on a podcast. And for me, no matter what I did, I always made sure that I was coming off as my most authentic self. I never liked playing a role. I never felt like, fitting a role to make society happy. And for me, being my most honest self to the world is the most important thing ever, because I feel like we live in a world where we are always trying to imitate the person next to us. But we have enough of this, I think it's better to be, someone different and stand out than being the same thing as the other person. So for me, that's what it means.
And can you share any kind of parts of your journey, like were there certain modalities or teachers or things that kind of helped you align more with your authenticity?
I think it was a mix of different people, because I do meet different people like along the way. And there are people who played a huge part in my life, who were mentors, maybe managers who I really look up to, and maybe, one connection that I had by going to an event. So there isn't one person in specific, but I do feel like every single person that I have met has given me something to take away from. And I am someone who likes to learn through observation and getting inspiration by observing other people. So, for instance, there was a manager who was basically, she was my manager for like 2 years. And she was someone that I really look up to, because she was very eloquent in the way she was communicating. She was very charismatic. And every time I looked at her, I was telling myself, this is how I want to be. This is how I want to come across to the world, like charismatic. And so she taught me about charisma, even though like she wasn't really intentionally teaching it to me. She was that's how she was.
Yeah.
So she was one example. There were celebrities that I really look up to, that when I look at them, for instance, Meghan Markle, she's one of the celebrities that I really admire, because I do think she does a lot to give back to the community, and she's a strong feminist, and she believes, in women's empowerment. So I remember the reason why I do a lot of the work that I do right now in relation to women's empowerment is because I watched one of her speeches at the United Nations, where she talks about feminism and how she talks about helping other women. So I took that from her, and I was like, okay, I need to apply that in my life. So I usually take like pieces from people, and then like I put it in myself, and then I come up with my own version of things.
Beautiful.
And so I take everything from the people that I meet in my life.
Wonderful. And can you share just a little bit about what you do in your business as far as empowering women?
So I volunteer for an organization called Women in Leadership. And basically it's an organization based in Canada. It's been there for 20 years. And across Canada, there are different chapters. So like in Montreal, there's a chapter. There's one in Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, and so forth. So all the biggest cities have a chapter. And I'm part of the Montreal chapter. So we are a team of 4 women and I'm the co-chair. So our chapter was actually inactive for a while, but now we are back on it and we want to launch an event around Women's Day. And basically the goal of Women in Leadership is really to empower the women in the community to be the leaders they are meant to be. But it's not just about leadership. It's also about other things such as wellness. It's about mentorship. It's about networking events. So we also have for instance, we have some chapters, they do like a wellness walk, where basically each month, at the end of the month, every woman get together and they go for a walk. And this is part of the self-care practice that a lot of women demanded. And then we also have a mentorship program where the women in the community are paired up with the mentors that apply into our program. So there is that. And we also give webinars throughout the year where we talk about different subjects. Could be public speaking, could be LinkedIn, could be, imposter syndrome, things that women in the community demand. And we provide them with those tools. So each chapter does its own thing. So ours is about, now we want to launch an event and we want to bring speakers. We want to have a panel session and we want to have conversations with the women and help them to really meet their demands and what they need in order for them to grow and feel empowered in their professional personal life. So that's one thing that I do.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing that I do is I'm big on mentorship. So I am affiliated with several organizations where they may need a mentor on a short-term basis. Let's say for 6 months, they need a mentor. I typically apply and I mentor women of color, women who want to work in finance, let's say, women who want to build a career, women who are looking to feel confident. And I love these genuine connections because I do feel like that it's empowering for them, but it's empowering for me too, because I also get to learn a lot from my mentees.
That's amazing. Good for you.
Thank you.
And can you share a little how you came into that journey as far as wanting to empower other women? I mean, you said you were looking at other people, but was there an experience that you were like, nope, I'm going to change and be an empowered person on the planet?
Yeah, there was a moment, and it comes from my own experience since I was a kid where I did not have a mentor. And when I grew up, I was the only person who basically looked the way I look, meaning that there were not that many people who were kids of immigrant parents, for instance. And I grew up in a community or in a society that was predominantly made of Italian people. So everyone around me looked Italian and there was me that looked different. Okay. And so I did not have that point of reference that I wish I had, someone that I could look up to, someone that I could share a little bit about my struggle, my challenges that a woman of color can go through. And so one day I told myself I'll be the mentor I never had. I'll be that example that the world needs to have. So that was, I would say, the trigger point that made me go towards this path of becoming a mentor, doing things in relation to women's empowerment. And also the fact that that when I see how women are treated generally, like in the society, but also in some communities or culture, like the South Asian cultures, where women are often not given enough importance. We are neglected. We're not given enough education. We're often segregated. We're not given so much of an importance the way we should be. Yeah. And because of that, I was like, I'm going to change that. So this is one of the other reasons why I do a lot of the things in relation to women's empowerment.
Beautiful. Good for you. And do you want to share a little bit about your book? What's your title or what does that entail?
So my book is called Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And it's basically about my story as a third culture kid. So for people who are not aware of with this concept, third culture kid means someone who's spending or who has spent most of their, I would say, their teenagehood in a country or in a culture completely different than their parents.
Okay.
So my parents are from Bangladesh. I was born and raised in Italy. So I always am Italian by birth and Bengali by blood.
Okay.
And when I was growing up, I always had this struggle that I felt like I was not enough, meaning that I did not feel I was Bengali enough. I did not feel like I was Italian enough. Like I was always in between. and that I felt like I was misplaced. I was not fitting in. And it's not because someone made me feel this way. It's just the way I felt personally, because as I was saying, I grew up in a very Italian society. So I went to school that was predominantly made of Italian people. I only had Italian friends. So I was always surrounded by people that were very similar to each other. And then there was me who felt like I did not look like anyone else. So even though I was born in Italy, I was very self-aware that I was not Italian, I was not Italian by blood. And I was very aware that I did not look like anyone else. I always had a little bit of a darker skin. I did not have blue eyes. I did not have green eyes like other people might have. And then I went home, and even though at home we were all pretty much South Asian, I was also aware that I was not completely the same as everyone else, because I had such a Western mentality in me, even though from an external point of view, I look like everyone else. So in the book, I talk about my experience, my childhood, my teenagehood as a third culture kid from a perspective of a South Asian woman. So I make a comparison between the Italian culture, the Bengali culture. I talk about the food. I talk about the religion. I talk about, what it means to be a teenager. I talk about the expectation that, South Asian parents might have on you. So I talk about that in the book, and it's just my own experience as a South Asian woman. Yeah.
Wow. Good for you. You've had an amazing journey, and just that you've found the right mentors at the right time to empower you to then try to uplift other women in your experience or just in general.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, how do people find you online?
So I have a podcast called The Stories Beyond Borders, and it's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I also have a YouTube channel called Urmi Hossain. I also have a LinkedIn profile called Urmi Hossain. And if people want to get my book, it's available on Amazon, and it's called Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle.
Beautiful. And do you have any upcoming events or things that you want to share about?
Yeah, definitely. My podcast is something that I've been working on, and it's something that I honestly, I launched it in the summer, and it's going well. So I'm gonna continue, releasing episodes, and I'm working on different season. I'm already working on season 3. I'm doing a lot of things in relation to women in leadership. So we are working on launching an event for International Women's Day. We want to have a networking event in Montreal, so that the women in Montreal can finally, come and mingle with other women. And I'm also working on writing a second book where I want to continue this conversation about being a third culture kid, talking about, the differences that can come when you have so many cultures exposed to, or when you have exposure to so many cultures, basically.
And is that women leadership, is that also in the States or around the other parts of the world?
No,
or is it just in Canada? Okay. Well, that's empowering. I mean, that's maybe eventually that will spread around the world.
Who knows? Yeah.
Well, do you have any final words for our listeners?
Final words, I would say I have so many final words. I would say to the women out there who are listening to basically always be unapologetic for whatever you do in life.
Ooh. I got chills on that one. Well, thank you very much for your time. It was wonderful to meet you and just to get to know more about you and your work and your really empowering journey. I'm really grateful that you're out in the world empowering other women and business owners and being a mentor. It's so needed at this time. And I just appreciate that you reached out to me, and it was just wonderful to have this conversation. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you to our listeners for hopping on this amazing episode. We'll see you next time. Community Power Rocks. Thank you for joining me on this journey of empowerment and connection on the My Body, My Power podcast. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who inspires you. Together, we're creating a ripple effect of confidence, courage, and light. Until next time, Goddess, keep shining your power.